The Blood Angels are one of the most iconic and storied Space Marine chapters within the Imperium of Man, standing out not only for their martial prowess, but for their unique blend of tragedy, nobility, and savagery, hailing from the grim and radiation-scarred world of Baal. They have earned their reputation as one of the Imperium's most devoted defenders. Their place in the Imperium is distinct, shaped by their close ties to their primarch, Sanguinius, and the legacy he left behind, a legacy of both greatness and suffering. The Blood Angels embody the dichotomy of beauty and brutality, a juxtaposition that makes them one of the most revered and mysterious chapters in the Warhammer 40K universe. What sets the Blood Angels apart begins with their physical appearance and bearing. Like all Space Marines, they are superhuman warriors, towering over mortal men, with physiques sculpted by genetic augmentation and decades of relentless training. Yet the Blood Angels carry themselves with a grace that is almost unsettling in its refinement. Their armor, often adorned with intricate gold filigree, ruby-red gemstones, and angelic motifs, reflects a culture steeped in artistry and devotion. The blood-red ceramite plates of their power armor gleam with an almost ceremonial luster, contrasting sharply with the skull's purity seals, and occasional depictions of winged angels that remind onlookers of their role as both avengers and saviors. The chapter's place in the Imperium is marked by a long history of heroic deeds, tragic losses, and a deep connection to the Emperor's vision of humanity's future. Unlike many chapters whose reputations are built solely on military achievements, the Blood Angels are admired for their unyielding dedication to ideals of perfection and beauty, even in the face of the unrelenting horrors of the galaxy. This dedication stems directly from their primarch, Sanguinius, whose angelic appearance and noble character left an indelible mark on his sons. Sanguinius was not only a warrior of unparalleled skill, but also a figure of immense charisma and compassion. His influence continues to define the chapter, inspiring its members to strive for greatness and purity, even as they wrestle with the darker aspects of their genetic inheritance. The Blood Angels' reverence across the Imperium also stems from their willingness to take on some of the most dangerous and desperate missions. When the Blood Angels go to war, they do so with a precision and ferocity that borders on artistry. Their approach to battle is highly disciplined, blending the crushing power of their assault marines with the strategic use of heavy weaponry and vehicles like Baal Predators, which are uniquely designed for their chapter. Their tactical flexibility and effectiveness make them a force to be reckoned with, even against the most formidable foes, from high fleets of the Tyranids to the infernal legions of chaos. However, the Blood Angels are not just defined by their martial accomplishments. Their culture and traditions further cement their status as one of the most unique Space Marine chapters. They are known for their devotion to preserving beauty and artistry in a galaxy defined by decay and destruction. This cultural identity permeates their ranks, from the ornate craftsmanship of their weapons to the grandiose frescoes and statues that adorn their fortress monastery, the Arx Angelicum. Even their battle hymns and war cries are said to carry an almost musical quality, blending inspiration with fearsome intensity. What truly makes the Blood Angels unique, however, is the burden they carry. Unlike many chapters, whose gene seed mutations manifest as physical flaws, the Blood Angels suffer from two afflictions that define their existence: the Red Thirst and the Black Rage. These genetic curses stem from the traumatic death of Sanguinius during the Horus Heresy and haunt the chapter to this day. The red thirst drives them to an insatiable craving for blood, a savage impulse that they must constantly suppress to maintain their humanity. The black rage, even more devastating, causes afflicted battle brothers to fall into a berserk state, where they relive their Primarch's final moments, often sacrificing themselves in battle as members of the Death Company. These curses are both a source of strength and an eternal reminder of their tragic past, adding a layer of complexity to the chapter's identity that few others possess. Despite these challenges, the Blood Angels remain one of the Imperium's most steadfast defenders. Their reputation as noble and tragic warriors is unmatched, earning them the admiration and awe of countless Imperial citizens and allies. They are celebrated not just for their victories, but for their unrelenting pursuit of perfection, their willingness to embrace both their light and dark aspects, and their unwavering commitment to the Emperor's vision. To understand the Blood Angels is to see a chapter that exemplifies both the heights and the depths of the human condition, a force that stands as a bulwark against the galaxy's darkness while grappling with the shadows within themselves. This duality, beauty and brutality, nobility and savagery, defines their place in the Imperium and makes them a chapter unlike any other. The Blood Angels trace their origins back to the first founding, the monumental event during which the Emperor created the original Space Marine legions. These legions were crafted to serve as the ultimate warriors in humanity's quest to reclaim the stars during the Great Crusade. Each legion was built around the genetic material of one of the Emperor's Primarchs, with the intention that the Primarchs would serve as the leaders and guiding figures of their respective forces. The Blood Angels were forged from the genetic code of Sanguinius, a Primarch whose angelic qualities set him apart from his brothers, and whose destiny would be marked by both triumph and tragedy. During the early days of the Great Crusade, before the discovery of Sanguinius, the legion that would become the Blood Angels was already unique among its peers. The Emperor infused the legion's gene seed with a resilience and adaptability that enabled them to thrive in the harshest conditions, qualities that would later serve them well on the radiation-scarred surface of Baal. These warriors were known for their efficiency and discipline, traits that would be amplified upon their reunion with their Primarch. The moment Sanguinius was discovered, the Emperor's vision for the Blood Angels began to take shape. Like the other Primarchs, Sanguinius had been scattered across the galaxy during the chaos-fueled disaster that disrupted the Emperor's initial experiments. He was found on Baal Secundus, one of the moons of Baal, a planet that had been ravaged by nuclear war and left desolate. Despite being raised in such a hostile environment, Sanguinius displayed traits that immediately marked him as extraordinary. His physical appearance was striking, with golden hair, alabaster skin, and large feathered wings that grew from his back, giving him an almost divine aura. Beyond his appearance, he exhibited a natural charisma and wisdom that earned him the loyalty and adoration of the people of Baal Secundus, who revered him as an angelic savior. When the Emperor arrived on Baal to reunite with his son, the bond between the two was immediate and profound. Sanguinius's loyalty to the Emperor was unwavering, and he readily embraced the vision of uniting humanity under the banner of the Imperium. The Emperor, in turn, recognized Sanguinius's unique qualities and entrusted him with command of the 9th Legion, which would soon become known as the Blood Angels. Under Sanguinius's leadership, the Legion underwent a transformation, adopting not only his tactical brilliance, but also his deep appreciation for art, beauty, and the higher ideals of humanity. This marked the beginning of the Blood Angels' evolution into the noble and tragic force they are known as today. During the Great Crusade, the Blood Angels distinguished themselves as one of the most effective and versatile legions. Sanguinius's presence on the battlefield was both inspiring and terrifying. Clad in intricately crafted golden armor and wielding weapons of exceptional craftsmanship, he led his warriors with a grace and precision that few could match. His legion followed his example, combining ferocious close quarters combat with strategic adaptability. They were often deployed to the most dangerous and challenging war zones, where their resilience and determination proved invaluable. The Blood Angels earned a reputation for their ability to turn the tide of seemingly hopeless battles. Whether breaching heavily fortified positions or facing down alien hordes, they fought with a combination of discipline and fury that reflected both their gene seed's resilience and the influence of their Primarch. Their unique approach to warfare set them apart from other legions. While some legions, like the World Eaters, relied on sheer brutality, and others, like the Ultramarines, adhered to rigid tactics, the Blood Angels brought a balance of artistry and effectiveness that left a lasting impression on the Imperium. The connection between the Blood Angels and the Emperor was particularly strong, both through their Primarch and their gene seed. Sanguinius was widely regarded as one of the Emperor's most loyal and beloved sons, and this loyalty was mirrored in his legion. The Blood Angels viewed the Emperor not just as their creator, but as the ultimate expression of humanity's potential. Their actions during the Great Crusade reflected this belief, as they sought to embody the Emperor's ideals while purging the galaxy of humanity's enemies. The early purpose of the Blood Angels during the Great Crusade was deeply tied to the Emperor's vision of unity and progress. They were not simply warriors, but exemplars of the potential for greatness within humanity. Sanguinius encouraged his legion to embrace the pursuit of excellence, both on and off the battlefield. This philosophical approach was rare among the Space Marine legions, and set the Blood Angels apart as a force that sought to inspire as much as they sought to conquer. As the Great Crusade progressed, the Blood Angels became one of the most admired legions within the Imperium. Their combination of martial prowess, unshakable loyalty, and a commitment to higher ideals made them a symbol of the Emperor's vision for humanity. However, the seeds of their future struggles were also sown during this time, as their gene seeds' latent flaws began to manifest. These early signs of the Red Thirst hinted at the dark challenges that would come to define the chapter's existence, even as they achieved some of their greatest victories. Sanguinius, the Primarch of the Blood Angels, is among the most revered and tragic figures in the history of the Imperium. Like his brother Primarchs, Sanguinius was cast across the galaxy by the machinations of the Chaos Gods during the Emperor's Great Experiment. He landed on Baal Secundus, a desolate moon orbiting the nuclear wasteland of Baal, a planet ravaged by ancient atomic war. The people of Baal Secundus, surviving in a hostile and irradiated environment, were a desperate and hardened lot, plagued by mutant tribes and the ever-present threat of extinction. It was in this unforgiving landscape that Sanguinius was discovered, raised, and ultimately began his transformation into the leader he would become. Even as an infant, Sanguinius was marked by his extraordinary nature. His appearance was unlike anything the people of Baal Secundus had seen. Golden-haired, with alabaster skin and large feathered wings, he looked like an angel descended from the heavens, a figure so striking that he inspired both awe and fear. When he was found by a wandering group of nomads, They believed him to be a divine gift, sparing him from the fate of most outsiders, who were typically left to die in the wastes or slaughtered out of paranoia. The nomads took him in, and Sanguinius quickly grew into a figure of legend among them. His physical abilities were unmatched, even as a child, with strength, speed, and resilience that far exceeded the limits of human biology. More than this, his demeanor was one of wisdom and compassion, qualities that earned him the unwavering loyalty of those who followed him. As he grew older, Sanguinius began to exhibit psychic abilities. He possessed a precognitive gift, allowing him to see flashes of the future. This ability, while limited, often gave him insights that helped guide his decisions and protect those under his care. Despite the harshness of Baal Secundus, Sanguinius led his nomadic tribe with fairness and a deep sense of responsibility, uniting them against the feral mutants that preyed on the weak. These mutants, grotesque remnants of Baal's nuclear devastation, were a constant threat, their twisted forms and unrelenting savagery pushing even the most hardened survivors to their limits. Sanguinius faced these enemies head-on, his immense strength and natural combat ability allowing him to protect his people and inspire them to stand together against overwhelming odds. When the Emperor finally arrived on Baal Secundus, he found Sanguinius leading his people in the battle against a massive horde of mutants. Sanguinius fought at the forefront, his golden armor gleaming in the harsh sunlight, his wings spread wide as he cut through the enemy with a mixture of ferocity and grace. The Emperor, witnessing his son in action, immediately recognized Sanguinius for what he was, not just a Primarch, but an embodiment of hope and nobility in a galaxy consumed by darkness. Sanguinius, in turn, instantly recognized the Emperor as his father and knelt before him in total loyalty. This meeting was one of mutual respect and admiration, setting the foundation for a bond that would shape the history of the Blood Angels and the Imperium itself. Upon joining the Great Crusade, Sanguinius assumed command of the 9th Legion. His impact on the Blood Angels was immediate and transformative. Under his leadership, the Legion embraced not only the martial discipline required to excel on the battlefield, but also the ideals of beauty and excellence that Sanguinius himself exemplified. He encouraged his warriors to strive for perfection in all things, from their combat techniques to their appreciation of art and culture. This influence gave the Blood Angels their distinct identity, setting them apart from their brother legions, many of which focused solely on war and conquest. Sanguinius's angelic appearance and noble demeanor made him a beloved figure among his brothers and the wider Imperium. He was often described as the most charismatic and compassionate of the Primarchs, a leader who inspired loyalty not through fear, but through admiration and respect. His relationship with his brothers was complex. While many adored him, others harbored jealousy or mistrust due to his natural charisma and angelic qualities. Even Horus, the favored son of the Emperor, held a deep bond with Sanguinius, though this relationship would later play a role in the tragic events of the Horus heresy. On the battlefield, Sanguinius was a force to be reckoned with. His physical abilities were unmatched, even among the Primarchs. His wings gave him unparalleled mobility, allowing him to descend upon enemies with blinding speed, often striking critical blows before they could react. He wielded a blade of exquisite craftsmanship, its edge capable of cutting through the thickest armor and the most resilient flesh. Sanguinius's combat style was a blend of precision and overwhelming force, a reflection of his personality and philosophy. He led his legion from the front, always placing himself at the heart of the conflict, where his warriors could draw strength from his presence. Sanguinius's role during the Great Crusade was pivotal, not only in the achievements of the Blood Angels, but also in shaping the character of the Crusade itself. As one of the Emperor's most loyal and charismatic sons, Sanguinius commanded a level of respect and admiration that extended beyond his legion. His leadership brought stability and unity to the Blood Angels, transforming them into one of the most reliable and versatile forces in the Imperium's expansion. His bond with the Emperor was one of mutual understanding and deep respect, a connection that influenced the trajectory of his legion and their contribution to the Great Crusade. Sanguinius's presence on the battlefield was as commanding as it was inspiring, standing taller than any mortal man, his golden armor gleaming with intricate detailing, and his great feathered wings unfurled. He cut a figure that was as much a symbol of hope as it was a beacon of terror to his enemies. His warriors rallied to him with unmatched fervor, driven by his ability to lead by example and his unwavering resolve in the face of adversity. The Great Crusade demanded constant conflict with Xenos empires, renegade human civilizations, and other threats that had taken root in humanity's long absence from the stars. Sanguinius ensured that the Blood Angels were prepared for every eventuality, melding discipline and adaptability with the ferocity and martial prowess expected of an Astartes legion. One of the most significant battles during the Great Crusade involving Sanguinius and the Blood Angels was the compliance of Cygnus Prime. The world had fallen to chaos, and the Blood Angels were dispatched to bring it back under Imperial control. However, what awaited them was far more than a simple rebellion. Cygnus Prime was a trap set by the forces of chaos, led by the demon prince Kiris, with the intent to corrupt and destroy the Ninth Legion. When the Blood Angels arrived, they found themselves surrounded by demonic entities and legions of corrupted human soldiers. The atmosphere itself was thick with warp energies, pressing against the minds of the Astartes and threatening to break their will. Despite the overwhelming odds, Sanguinius led his warriors with unshakable determination. During the battle, Kiris appeared before Sanguinius, taunting him and attempting to lure him into despair. The demon prince sought to exploit the latent flaw in the Blood Angels' gene seed, amplifying the red thirst and pushing them toward madness. Sanguinius, however, refused to yield, standing firm against the demonic assault. In a climactic duel, he faced Kiris, his blade cutting through the demon prince's defenses with precision, born of both skill and divine purpose. The defeat of Kiris shattered the enemy's morale, allowing the Blood Angels to rally and banish the remaining demonic forces. The victory at Cygnus Prime was hard won and came at a significant cost. Many Blood Angels succumbed to the influence of the warp, either falling to the red thirst or being consumed entirely by the madness of the Black Rage. Despite these losses, Sanguinius's actions ensured the survival of his legion and demonstrated the strength of his leadership. The battle also served as a harsh reminder of the dangers posed by chaos, further galvanizing Sanguinius and his warriors in their commitment to the Emperor's cause. Another notable engagement was the cleansing of the blood moons of Sagalos. This campaign pitted the Blood Angels against an advanced Xenos species known for their biomechanical constructs and ability to harness energy weapons with devastating effect. The Blood Moons were a cluster of heavily fortified asteroids orbiting a dying star, each one serving as a base for the Xenos forces. Sanguinius devised a plan that combined precise orbital strikes with close-quarters assaults, utilizing the Blood Angel's mastery of mobility and shock tactics, personally leading an assault squad. Sanguinius was the first to breach the primary Xenos stronghold, cutting down the alien defenders with his signature blend of speed and ferocity. His actions created a foothold that allowed the rest of the Legion to secure victory, dismantling the Xenos Empire and securing the region for the Imperium. Sanguinius's leadership during the Great Crusade extended beyond his battlefield prowess. He was a diplomat and unifier, capable of bridging gaps between disparate imperial factions and fostering cooperation among his brother Primarchs. While some of his brothers were consumed by rivalry or isolationism, Sanguinius worked to maintain the cohesion of the Emperor's vision, often serving as a mediator in disputes. This ability to inspire loyalty and unity was crucial during the Crusade's later stages, as the challenges faced by the Imperium grew increasingly complex and dangerous. Sanguinius's involvement in the Horus heresy was marked by both his immense contributions as a leader of the loyalist forces and the personal trials he endured as he faced his own inevitable fate. From the earliest days of the heresy, Sanguinius emerged as one of the Emperor's most trusted and resilient sons, a figure of unity among his loyalist brothers. Yet the heresy also pushed him into situations that tested his spirit, loyalty, and the very genetic flaws of his legion. The combination of his strategic brilliance, unshakable resolve, and the psychological torment of knowing his eventual doom made his role in the heresy one of the most defining in the conflict. At the outbreak of the Horus heresy, Sanguinius and the Blood Angels were stationed on Cygnus Prime, a critical engagement that would set the tone for their involvement in the war. Chaos, aware of Sanguinius's pivotal role among the loyalist forces, had laid an elaborate trap. The forces of the ruinous powers, led by demon Prince Kiris and his legions of demons, sought to corrupt the Ninth Legion and turn them to Horus's side. The trap was multi-layered, targeting not just the physical strength of the Blood Angels, but their psychic and spiritual resilience. Sanguinius became the focal point of this assault, with Kiris attempting to exploit his nobility and his psychic connection to the warp. The atmosphere on Cygnus Prime was oppressive, saturated with the taint of chaos, and even the most stalwart Blood Angels began to succumb to the red thirst and black rage, the flaws inherent in their gene seed that chaos sought to amplify. Sanguinius, however, refused to give in to the despair and corruption that surrounded him. Facing Kiris directly in combat, he demonstrated both his physical prowess and his spiritual strength, cutting the demon prince down in a decisive duel that shattered the morale of the Chaos forces. The cost of this victory was severe. Many Blood Angels fell to madness during the battle, their latent flaws pushed to the forefront by the sheer warp presence on the planet. While Sanguinius's actions saved his legion from outright corruption, the experience left lasting scars that would follow the chapter for the rest of its existence. As the heresy progressed, Sanguinius emerged as a rallying figure among the loyalist forces. His bond with the Emperor remained unbroken, and his loyalty was absolute, despite the temptations and pressures he faced. His relationship with his brother Primarchs also played a significant role during this period. While his natural charisma and nobility earned him the respect of most of his loyalist siblings, it also made him a target for Horus's manipulations. Horus, aware of Sanguinius's influence and power, made several attempts to sway him, using both offers of power and appeals to their shared bond as brothers. Sanguinius rejected these overtures with unwavering determination, further solidifying his position as one of the greatest champions of the Imperium. The Siege of Terra was the culmination of Sanguinius's contributions to the Loyalist cause. When Horus's forces reached the solar system, the Blood Angels took up key defensive positions within the Imperial Palace. The scale of the battle was unprecedented, with countless traitor legions and warp-spawned entities throwing themselves against the walls of the palace in an unending assault. Sanguinius's leadership during this period was critical. He coordinated defensive strategies, inspiring his warriors to hold their ground against overwhelming odds. The Red Thirst and Black Rage, which had been curses throughout the Legion's history, became assets during the siege as afflicted Blood Angels channeled their berserk fury into devastating counterattacks. Sanguinius's actions during the siege were not confined to strategy and command. He fought on the front lines, personally engaging the most dangerous enemies the traitor forces could muster. His golden armor, battered but still gleaming in the light of Terra's defenses, became a symbol of hope for the Loyalist defenders. His wings, now often stained with blood and dirt, still gave him an ethereal presence on the battlefield. He moved with a grace that belied the savagery of the battle, cutting through Chaos Space Marines and demons with a speed and precision that made him almost untouchable. The Blood Angels who fought alongside him drew strength from his presence, holding their lines against even the most relentless assaults. As the siege reached its climax, Sanguinius joined the Emperor and Rogel Dawn in a final desperate assault to reach Horus aboard the Vengeful Spirit. The path to the War Master's flagship was a gauntlet of fire and blood, with the Loyalist forces facing waves of traitors, demons, and other horrors conjured from the warp. Sanguinius, as always, led from the front, his blade cutting a path through the enemy ranks. When the Loyalist group finally breached the bridge of the Vengeful Spirit, Sanguinius faced Horus directly. The confrontation between the angelic Primarch and the demon-infused War Master was one of the most significant moments in the heresy. Horus, now fully consumed by chaos, sought to break Sanguinius through words and force. Sanguinius, knowing the stakes and fully aware of his fate, engaged his brother in single combat, refusing to yield even as Horus unleashed the full extent of his corrupted power. The details of the duel are sparse, with much of what transpired lost to time and legend. What is known is that Sanguinius fought with everything he had, his blade and psychic might clashing against Horus's immense strength and demonic abilities. Despite his overwhelming power, Horus could not subdue Sanguinius easily. It is said that Sanguinius inflicted a wound on Horus that weakened him, paving the way for the Emperor's eventual victory. Ultimately, Horus struck Sanguinius down, ending the life of one of the Emperor's most loyal and noble sons, in a moment of betrayal and tragedy. The loss of Sanguinius during the heresy was a turning point for the Blood Angels and the Imperium as a whole, setting in motion events that would shape the galaxy for millennia to come. The death of Sanguinius on the bridge of the Vengeful Spirit sent shockwaves through the Blood Angels' Legion, marking the beginning of a period of deep mourning and significant transformation for his sons. The immediate aftermath of their Primarch's death was a time of chaos and uncertainty. The warriors of the 9th Legion, who had been galvanized by Sanguinius's leadership during the Siege of Terra, were now left to grapple with the void created by his absence. For a legion so intrinsically tied to their Primarch's ideals, character, and presence, the loss was not just personal. It was a foundational shift that would redefine their identity. When news of Sanguinius's death reached the surviving Blood Angels on Terra, it shattered the fragile morale of a legion already pushed to the brink. The Blood Angels, who had held key positions during the Siege of Terra, were instrumental in repelling the traitor forces. With their Primarch leading them, they had fought with unparalleled ferocity and resilience, their unique gene seed flaws harnessed as a weapon against the forces of chaos. However, the loss of their leader left many feeling adrift. His death was not just the loss of a commander, but the loss of a figure they revered almost as a divine being. Sanguinius had been their guide, their inspiration, and the embodiment of their highest ideals. His absence created a psychological wound that extended across the entire legion. The immediate fallout also manifested in the physiological and psychological strain that the Blood Angels began to exhibit. The Black Rage, a previously rare manifestation of their genetic flaws, began to surface more frequently. Battle Brothers, afflicted by the Black Rage, experienced intense visions of Sanguinius's final moments, reliving his sacrifice and the confrontation with Horus. These visions drove them into a berserk fury, rendering them nearly uncontrollable but incredibly dangerous in battle. The Death Company, a formation created to manage those who succumbed to the Black Rage, became a necessary and grim feature of the Legion. This phenomenon not only affected the Blood Angels' ability to field cohesive forces, but also served as a constant reminder of their Primarch's death, making it impossible for them to fully escape the shadow of that moment. Despite these challenges, the Blood Angels began to reorganize and adapt in the wake of their loss. The senior leadership of the Legion, including the Chapter Master and the Sanguinary Priests, took on the monumental task of preserving Sanguinius's legacy, while guiding the Blood Angels through their period of mourning. The Sanguinary Priests, who had always played a critical role in maintaining the gene seed of the Legion, became the spiritual leaders of the Blood Angels, ensuring that their warriors remained connected to the ideals of their fallen Primarch. They led ceremonies and rituals designed to honor Sanguinius's memory, reinforcing his teachings and ideals to maintain the unity of the chapter. One of the most immediate challenges the Blood Angels faced was determining their place within the new structure of the Imperium. With the Emperor interred in the Golden Throne and Robert Guilliman assuming the mantle of Imperial Regent, the Blood Angels were forced to reconcile their grief with the practical realities of their role as one of the Imperium's primary defenders. Guilliman's introduction of the Codex Astartes, which mandated the division of the legions into smaller chapters, created a period of internal debate among the Blood Angels. The idea of splitting their forces was met with resistance by many within the Legion, as it was perceived as a further dilution of their connection to Sanguinius. However, the Blood Angels ultimately complied with Guilliman's reforms, creating successor chapters such as the Flesh Tearers and Angels Vermilion, each of which carried forward aspects of the Blood Angels' culture and genetic legacy. The Blood Angels' mourning period was not spent in isolation, as the Imperium faced ongoing threats from xenos species, traitor legions, and heretical uprisings. The Blood Angels were called upon to defend humanity's fragile existence. These battles became opportunities for the Legion to channel their grief and anger into action. The Blood Angels fought with a renewed ferocity, their every engagement serving as an act of devotion to their Primarch's memory. Whether battling the orcs of the Octarius sector, or repelling incursions by the Night Lords, the Blood Angels demonstrated an unrelenting commitment to the Emperor's vision, even as they struggled with their own internal demons. The Arx Angelicum, the fortress monastery on Baal, became the heart of the Blood Angels' efforts to preserve their heritage and adapt to the challenges of the post-heresy era. The vast halls of the Arx Angelicum were filled with statues, murals, and relics commemorating Sanguinius and the Legion's history. These artistic expressions were not merely decorative. They served as tools for maintaining the unity and morale of the chapter. The Blood Angels took great pride in their craftsmanship, using their artistic pursuits as a means of channeling their grief and reaffirming their connection to Sanguinius's ideals. In addition to their internal efforts, the Blood Angels strengthened their bonds with their successor chapters and other loyalist forces. The sanguinary priests took on a vital role in ensuring that the gene seed of the Blood Angels and their successors remained pure, a task made all the more challenging by the increasing prevalence of the Red Thirst and Black Rage. The chapter also worked to support its successors in battle, often joining forces in major campaigns to maximize their effectiveness. These collaborations served to reinforce the unity of the Blood Angels' extended family, ensuring that Sanguinius's legacy was preserved across multiple chapters. Through their actions and rituals, the Blood Angels sought to find a renewed sense of purpose. The loss of Sanguinius left an indelible mark on the chapter, shaping their identity and their approach to both warfare and their place in the Imperium. The Red Thirst is one of the most defining and troubling genetic mutations within the Blood Angels chapter, a curse that has shaped their culture, combat doctrine, and identity since the earliest days of their existence. Rooted in their gene seed and tied to the tragic death of their primarch, Sanguinius, the Red Thirst is both a source of shame and a powerful, dangerous tool in battle. Its origins can be traced back to the unique genetic traits of Sanguinius himself, though it was only after his death that the condition began to manifest in its full and terrifying form. Unlike the Black Rage, which is tied directly to Sanguinius's final moments, the Red Thirst is an ever-present hunger that resides within every Blood Angel, a primal craving that must be constantly resisted. The Red Thirst manifests as an insatiable and uncontrollable desire for blood, an affliction that strikes at the very core of the Blood Angel's psyche. It is more than just a physical craving. It is a psychological compulsion that gnaws at the minds of the afflicted, driving them towards savagery. When triggered, the Red Thirst overtakes the affected Astartes, turning them into frenzied, berserk warriors who are consumed by a need to destroy and feed. For a chapter that prides itself on its discipline, artistry, and nobility, this loss of control is a source of deep shame. The Blood Angels view the Red Thirst as a stain on their legacy, a cruel irony given their dedication to Sanguinius's ideals of perfection and their near-divine image in the Imperium. The physical signs of the Red Thirst are subtle at first but become more pronounced as the condition takes hold. Blood Angels afflicted by the thirst may exhibit heightened aggression, rapid breathing, and an intense focus on their enemies. Their voices can take on a guttural, almost animalistic tone, and their eyes often redden as the urge for violence grows stronger. In the heat of battle, these symptoms intensify, leading to an uncontrollable bloodlust that can only be satisfied through destruction. This state makes the afflicted Astartes incredibly dangerous to their enemies, but also a liability to their allies, as their actions become increasingly erratic and difficult to direct. The Red Thirst's impact on the Blood Angels' combat style is profound. While all Space Marines are formidable warriors, the Blood Angels channel their genetic curse into a style of warfare that emphasizes speed, aggression, and close-quarters combat. Assault squads armed with chainswords and bolt pistols are a hallmark of the chapter, delivering lightning-fast strikes that overwhelm enemies before they can react. When the red thirst takes hold, these warriors fight with a ferocity that is unmatched, their blows landing with terrifying force as they give in to the primal instincts that drive them. This combat doctrine, while effective, also carries significant risks. Blood angels who succumb too deeply to the thirst can lose themselves entirely, becoming little more than feral killers who must be restrained or, in extreme cases, put down by their brothers. The psychological toll of the red thirst on the blood angels cannot be overstated. Every member of the chapter lives with the constant fear of succumbing to the curse, a fear that is reinforced by the ever-present reminders of its effects. The blood angels, chaplains, and sanguinary priests play a critical role in helping their warriors maintain control, providing spiritual guidance and administering rituals designed to reinforce discipline and focus. These leaders often bear the heaviest burden, as they must witness firsthand the struggles of their brothers and the tragic fates of those who are consumed by the thirst. The rituals performed by the sanguinary priests are deeply symbolic, incorporating elements of Sanguinius's teachings and the chapter's history, to remind the blood angels of their higher purpose and the ideals they must strive to uphold. The red thirst also influences the blood angels' relationships with other factions within the Imperium. While they are widely respected for their martial prowess and unwavering loyalty, their curse is a poorly kept secret among other chapters and imperial institutions. This knowledge often leads to a mixture of awe and fear, as the Blood Angels' allies recognize the fine line they walk between nobility and savagery. In some cases, this fear has led to mistrust, with other imperial forces expressing hesitation in working closely with the Blood Angels. However, their consistent record of success and their ability to control the worst excesses of their curse have largely mitigated these concerns, ensuring that the Blood Angels remain a valued asset to the Imperium. The Red Thirst is not an isolated phenomenon. It affects not only the Blood Angels, but also their successor chapters, such as the Flesh Tearers and Angels Vermilion. These chapters experience the thirst in varying degrees, with some, like the Flesh Tearers, exhibiting an even greater propensity for violence and bloodlust. This shared curse creates a bond between the Blood Angels and their successors, as they work together to manage their affliction and support one another in their efforts to maintain control. The sanguinary priests, in particular, play a vital role in ensuring the stability of these successor chapters, providing guidance and sharing knowledge about the gene seed's quirks. The Black Rage is among the most tragic and devastating afflictions faced by the Blood Angels, a condition rooted directly in the death of their primarch, Sanguinius, during the final confrontation of the Horus heresy. Unlike the Red Thirst, which is a primal craving for blood, the Black Rage manifests as a complete psychological and emotional collapse, driving afflicted Blood Angels into a berserk fury while trapping them in a horrifying cycle of visions. Those who succumb to the Black Rage experience vivid, all-consuming memories of Sanguinius's death, reliving his final moments on the vengeful spirit as he faced Horus. These visions blur the line between reality and memory, causing the afflicted to believe they are Sanguinius himself, battling to protect the Emperor in their final stand. The Black Rage is not an inherited genetic flaw, but a psychic echo tied to the collective trauma of Sanguinius's death. The psychic bond between the Blood Angels and their primarch is unique, forged through his immense psychic presence and the close connection he shared with his legion. When Sanguinius died, The psychic imprint of his sacrifice embedded itself within the gene seed of his sons, leaving a permanent scar that manifests unpredictably. The rage can be triggered by extreme physical or emotional stress, particularly in the chaos and intensity of battle. Blood angels who fall victim to the black rage often do so without warning, their minds overwhelmed by the psychic echoes of Sanguinius's final moments. The symptoms of the black rage are unmistakable. Those afflicted are overcome by uncontrollable fury, their behavior becoming erratic and violent. Their physical bodies undergo a transformation as adrenaline and other chemicals surge through their systems, enhancing their strength and reflexes, but also pushing them to the limits of exhaustion. Their speech becomes distorted, often interspersed with cries and declarations in the voice of Sanguinius himself. In the grip of the black rage, a blood angel might charge headlong into enemy lines, with no regard for their own safety, wielding their weapons with a ferocity that makes them nearly unstoppable, but entirely unpredictable. For their allies, fighting alongside someone in the throes of the black rage is as awe-inspiring as it is terrifying, as the afflicted seem almost superhuman in their savagery. To manage the black rage, the Blood Angels have established the Death Company, a specialized formation that gathers those who succumb to the condition and channels their fury into battle. Members of the Death Company are identified by chaplains who are trained to recognize the telltale signs of the rage and guide those afflicted into this final service. Clad in black armor adorned with red crosses and symbols of Sanguinius, the Death Company is a striking presence on the battlefield. Their armor is often inscribed with litanies of redemption and adorned with purity seals, a stark contrast to their erratic and frenzied behavior in combat. Death Company warriors are typically armed with close combat weapons, such as chainswords and power axes, to make the most of their enhanced strength and fury. In battle, the Death Company is unleashed as a shock force, tasked with breaking through enemy lines, eliminating high-value targets, or creating chaos in the ranks of the foe. Their berserk nature makes them ideal for these roles, as they are entirely fearless and utterly relentless. While most Astartes rely on discipline and coordination, the Death Company operates with raw instinct and sheer aggression. Their unpredictability makes them devastatingly effective against both conventional and unconventional foes, against orc hordes or tyrannid swarms, for example. The Death Company's ferocity can turn the tide of battle as they carve through waves of enemies with reckless abandon. Despite their effectiveness, the use of the Death Company comes at a heavy cost. Those who fall into the grip of the Black Rage are considered beyond saving. Once the condition takes hold, there is no known cure. The afflicted are treated with solemn respect by their brothers, but their fate is sealed. Death on the battlefield is the only release from the torment of the Black Rage, and they are sent into battle with the understanding that they will not return. Chaplains often lead the Death Company, serving as both spiritual guides and battlefield commanders, ensuring that these warriors can fulfill their final duty with dignity. The chaplains themselves bear the emotional burden of witnessing their brother's decline, knowing that each member of the Death Company was once a proud and noble warrior of the Blood Angels. The Black Rage also influences the Blood Angels' strategies and logistics. The Death Company requires dedicated resources, including specialized training for chaplains, additional armories for their distinct war gear, and rituals to prepare them for battle. Before deployment, the Death Company undergoes rites of purification, often involving anointment, with sacred oils and the recitation of prayers to Sanguinius and the Emperor. These rituals serve both practical and symbolic purposes, ensuring that the warriors are focused on their mission while reinforcing their connection to the chapter's traditions. The existence of the Black Rage creates a profound sense of dread and determination within the Blood Angels. Every member of the chapter knows that the curse could claim them at any moment, transforming them from disciplined warriors into berserk killers. This knowledge drives the Blood Angels to excel in every aspect of their service, striving to honor Sanguinius's memory and his ideals while they still can. The chaplains and sanguinary priests play a critical role in maintaining morale, reminding their brothers of the glory of their Primarch and the purpose of their sacrifices. For the Blood Angels' allies, the Death Company is a double-edged sword. While their ferocity is unmatched, their lack of control and the unnerving nature of their condition can create tension within allied forces. Imperial Guard regiments, for example, often struggle to comprehend the sight of the Death Company in action, their berserk warriors screaming oaths to Sanguinius and fighting with an intensity that defies reason. Yet despite the fear they inspire, the Death Company is widely respected for their effectiveness and their willingness to embrace death for the greater good of the Imperium. The Black Rage's impact is not limited to the Blood Angels alone. It extends to their successor chapters, many of whom face similar challenges in managing the condition. Chapters like the Flesh. Tira's and Angel's Vermilion experience the Rage to varying degrees, and their own Death Companies are a testament to the shared legacy of Sanguinius. These successor chapters often collaborate with the Blood Angels to share knowledge and resources, reinforcing the bonds of brotherhood forged in their common heritage. The Blood Angels are unique among the Adeptus Astartes for their deeply ingrained appreciation of beauty, artistry, and culture, traits that stand in stark contrast to their ferocious and often savage nature in battle. This duality is one of the defining characteristics of the chapter, creating an identity that sets them apart from their peers. Their devotion to aesthetics is not superficial, but an integral part of their character. Rooted in the ideals of their Primarch, Sanguinius, who valued not only martial excellence, but also the pursuit of perfection in all aspects of life. This cultural ethos has been passed down through generations of Blood Angels, shaping their traditions, their architecture, their war gear, and even their approach to battle. The fortress monastery of the Blood Angels, the Arx Angelicum, located on their homeworld of Baal, is a testament to their artistic sensibilities. The structure is as much a gallery as it is a military installation, with its halls adorned with elaborate frescoes, sculptures, and tapestries that depict the chapter's history, victories, and sacrifices. The interior is meticulously maintained, with every detail reflecting the Blood Angels' commitment to preserving their legacy. Grand statues of Sanguinius, rendered with lifelike detail, dominate the central chambers, their golden surfaces polished to a mirror-like shine. Other works of art, such as murals depicting the Great Crusade or the Siege of Terra, serve as constant reminders of the Blood Angels' heritage and their connection to their Primarch. Even their personal war gear reflects this aesthetic. Blood Angels take great care in the maintenance and embellishment of their armor and weapons, treating them as more than mere tools of war. The deep red ceramite of their power armor is often adorned with gold filigree, intricate inscriptions, and purity seals, while their weapons are decorated with engravings and gemstones that enhance their symbolic value. Many Blood Angels incorporate personal touches into their gear, such as painted scenes of battles they have fought, or artistic representations of Sanguinius's deeds. These embellishments are not acts of vanity, but expressions of the chapter's cultural values, demonstrating their belief that even instruments of death can reflect beauty and meaning. This focus on artistry extends to the rituals and ceremonies of the chapter. Blood Angels warriors are encouraged to pursue creative endeavors, from painting and sculpting to composing poetry and music. These activities serve as both a form of spiritual reflection and a means of channeling the emotions that might otherwise be consumed by the red thirst or black rage. For many Blood Angels, creating art is a way to honor Sanguinius and to maintain their humanity in the face of the horrors they encounter. This practice is unique among the Adeptus Astartes, as most chapters prioritize martial prowess and discipline above all else. For the Blood Angels, the cultivation of beauty is not a distraction, but a necessity, a way to balance the savagery of their battles with a connection to something higher. On the battlefield, the Blood Angels' aesthetic sensibilities are reflected in their tactics and formations. Assault squads equipped with jump packs, often referred to as the Angels of Death, are a striking sight, descending from the skies in perfect formation, with their blood-red armor glinting in the light. Their movements are almost choreographed, a blend of precision and aggression that creates an impression of lethal elegance. Even in the midst of carnage, their actions maintain a certain grace, as if they are performing a ritual as much as engaging in combat. This juxtaposition between beauty and brutality is one of the most distinctive aspects of the Blood Angels' presence in battle. The Blood Angels' artistic nature also influences their interactions with the Imperium at large. They are often seen as noble and charismatic figures, their refined demeanor and cultural values setting them apart from the more utilitarian or stoic chapters. This perception is further reinforced by their physical appearance, as the genetic legacy of Sanguinius has blessed them with strikingly handsome features and an almost ethereal presence. To Imperial citizens and allies, the Blood Angels often appear as angelic saviors, a reputation that is carefully maintained through their actions and their visual presentation. This perception, however, masks the darker aspects of their nature, such as the ever-present threat of the red thirst and black rage. The contrast between the Blood Angels' cultural refinement and their battlefield savagery is perhaps most evident in their response to the aftermath of combat. While their assaults are characterized by ferocity and devastating efficiency, they often take time after a battle to honor their fallen and to reflect on the cost of their actions. Chapels and sanctuaries within the Arx Angelicum are dedicated to these acts of remembrance, with Blood Angels crafting works of art or composing hymns to commemorate their brothers who have fallen in battle. The Blood Angels have participated in some of the most critical and storied campaigns in the history of the Imperium, leaving a legacy of both remarkable triumphs and desperate struggles. Their unique combination of discipline, aggression, and the raw power derived from their genetic flaws has allowed them to achieve victories against seemingly insurmountable odds. These battles, often marked by extraordinary displays of valor and sacrifice, have solidified their reputation as one of the Imperium's most revered and reliable chapters. One of the Blood Angels' most defining campaigns was the defense of Baal against Hive Fleet Leviathan. This massive Tyrannid invasion was one of the greatest threats the chapter had ever faced, as the Xenos swarm descended upon their homeworld with the intent to consume everything in its path. The scale of the attack was unprecedented, with Leviathan's tendrils stretching across the Baal system. infesting its moons and outlying stations before converging on Baal itself. The Blood Angels, along with their successor chapters, fortified their positions on Baal and prepared to make their final stand. Their fortress monastery, the Arx Angelicum, became the central bastion of their defense, its walls bristling with weaponry and its halls filled with warriors ready to fight to the death. The battle against Leviathan was a grueling and chaotic affair. Wave after wave of Tyranids assaulted the Blood Angels' defenses, their chitinous forms blotting out the horizon as bioweapons rained down upon the planet. The Blood Angels countered with a mix of precision firepower and devastating close combat assaults, their assault marines and death company plunging into the heart of the Tyranid swarms to disrupt their advance. The skies above BEL were a maelstrom of activity, with Thunderhawks and Storm Ravens engaging Tyranid bioships, while massive swarms of gargoyles and harpies tried to break through the aerial defenses. On the ground, the Blood Angels fought with a ferocity born of desperation, every engagement marked by brutal melee combat, as the Astartes hacked their way through waves of Hormagaunts, Carnifexes, and monstrous Tyranid constructs. During the height of the battle, Commander Dante, the chapter master of the Blood Angels, took personal command of the defense. Clad in his golden artificer armor and wielding the Axe Mortalis, Dante was a towering presence on the battlefield, directing his forces with precision while cutting down Tyranid monstrosities in single combat. His leadership was critical in holding the line, particularly as the Tyranids began deploying their most devastating organisms, including the massive Hierophant Biotitans. Dante's ability to coordinate air and ground assets ensured that the Blood Angels maximized their firepower, targeting the Tyranid synapse creatures to disrupt the swarm's cohesion. The climax of the defense came when the Tyranid hive tyrant, known as the Swarm Lord, personally led an assault on the Arx Angelicum. The Swarm Lord, a creature of immense intelligence and cunning, represented the will of the hive, mind made manifest, and its arrival marked a turning point in the battle. The Swarm Lord's presence disrupted the Blood Angels' defensive lines as its psychic powers and tactical brilliance allowed it to coordinate the swarm with lethal efficiency. Dante, recognizing the threat, engaged the Swarm Lord directly in a duel that would determine the fate of the battle. The fight was brutal, with Dante using every ounce of his strength and skill to hold his ground against the Tyranid monstrosity. Though gravely wounded, Dante managed to outmaneuver the Swarm Lord and deliver a killing blow, shattering the Tyranid's momentum and buying the Blood Angels precious time. Even with this victory, the situation seemed hopeless as the Tyranid forces continued to pour onto the planet. It was only the arrival of Robut Gilliman and the Indomitus Crusade that turned the tide. The combined might of the reinforcements, along with the Blood Angels' indomitable resistance, drove the Tyranids from Baal, though the planet was left scarred and devastated by the conflict. Other battles in the Blood Angels' history have also defined their legacy. The cleansing of Delaris Prime, for instance, was a campaign against a chaos warband that had overtaken the planet. The Blood Angels deployed a strike force led by their Sanguinary Guard, golden-armored warriors who serve as living embodiments of Sanguinius's ideals. The Sanguinary Guard spearheaded the assault on the traitor stronghold, their weapons cutting through corrupted Astartes and demonic entities with precision and fury. The campaign demonstrated the Blood Angels' ability to adapt to different types of warfare as they combined orbital strikes, mechanized assaults, and close-quarters combat to systematically dismantle the Chaos forces. In the war for the Erixis Belt, the Blood Angels faced off against the Drukhari in a prolonged campaign to secure a strategically vital mining region. The Drukhari's hit-and-run tactics and advanced technology presented a unique challenge, forcing the Blood Angels to rely on their scouting elements and rapid response capabilities. The campaign saw extensive use of Baal Predators, the chapter's signature tanks, which provided the firepower needed to counter the Drukhari's skimmer vehicles and infantry. The Blood Angels' ability to adapt to the enemy's elusive tactics and respond with overwhelming force ensured their victory, though the campaign was marked by heavy losses due to the Drukhari's use of psychological and biological warfare. Another iconic engagement was the Battle of Cybele, where the Blood Angels fought alongside the Ultramarines to repel an Orc War. The Orc warlord leading the War had fortified himself within a massive mechanized fortress, a monstrosity of scrap metal and weaponry that seemed impervious to conventional assaults. The Blood Angels, working in concert with the Ultramarines, devised a plan to infiltrate the fortress using assault marines and death company squads. These units penetrated the fortress's defenses, disabling its shields and weapon systems from within, while the Ultramarines launched a coordinated armored assault. The Blood Angels' ability to operate in high-risk environments and their willingness to sacrifice themselves for the greater good were key to the success of the operation. Throughout their history, the Blood Angels have faced enemies as varied as the Necrons, the World Eaters, and even renegade Imperial forces, each engagement further solidifying their reputation as one of the Imperium's most versatile and resilient chapters. Their victories, while often hard-won and costly, have ensured the survival of countless worlds and demonstrated the enduring strength of their Primarch's legacy. Baal, the homeworld of the Blood Angels, is a desolate and unforgiving planet located within the Imperium Nihilus, a region cut off from much of the galaxy by the massive warp rift known as the Cicatrix Maledictum. The planet's surface bears the scars of ancient nuclear war, its once thriving ecosystem reduced to a barren wasteland of irradiated deserts, jagged mountain ranges, and toxic winds. The air is barely breathable, tainted with radiation, and the water sources that remain are brackish and often laced with chemical runoff. Baal's harsh environment is a reflection of its violent history, a history that predates even the arrival of the Blood Angels. Before Sanguinius was discovered on Baal al-Secundus, one of the moons of Baal, the planet had been home to a thriving human civilization. However, internecine wars escalated to the point where nuclear weapons were unleashed, devastating the planet's surface and plunging its population into a dark age of survival. The survivors were left to eke out a brutal existence among the ruins, their bodies and minds twisted by generations of exposure to radiation and genetic mutations. Baal became a world of scattered nomadic tribes, each struggling to survive against the environment and one another. The mutations caused by the radiation gave rise to savage, deformed creatures known as rad ghouls, which became one of the primary threats to the planet's remaining human population. Despite these conditions, Baal serves as a crucible for the Blood Angels' recruitment. The chapter's aspirants are drawn from the planet's nomadic tribes and its two moons, Baal Secundus and Baal Prime. Baal Secundus, in particular, holds special significance for the Blood Angels, as it was the place where Sanguinius himself was discovered by the Emperor. While Baal Secundus shares many of the harsh characteristics of Baal's surface, it is slightly less irradiated, making it marginally more hospitable. The tribes on Baal Secundus have a deep cultural reverence for Sanguinius, passed down through oral traditions and rituals. And this devotion makes them particularly willing to offer their best and brightest to the Blood Angels. The recruitment process begins with the Blood Angels' chaplains and apothecaries traveling to the surface of Baal or its moons, aboard Thunderhawks or other landing craft. These expeditions often involve both observation and direct engagement with the tribal populations. The Blood Angels do not recruit randomly. Instead, they seek individuals who have demonstrated extraordinary strength, resilience, and mental fortitude, qualities essential for surviving both the transformation into a space marine and the genetic flaws of the Blood Angels' gene seed. Tribes on Baal Secundus are known to hold ritual combat tournaments or dangerous trials of endurance to present their best candidates to the Blood Angels, viewing the selection of one of their own as the highest possible honor. The aspirants selected by the Blood Angels are transported to the Arx Angelicum, the chapter's fortress monastery on Baal. This immense structure is built into the side of a jagged mountain range, its exterior bristling with weapon emplacements and reinforced with adamantium plating to withstand both atmospheric conditions and potential attacks. Within its halls, the aspirants undergo rigorous testing and training designed to assess their physical and mental capabilities. These trials are brutal, often lethal, and only a small percentage of aspirants survive to undergo the implantation of the gene seed organs that will transform them into Astartes. The process is especially dangerous for recruits of the Blood Angels, as the introduction of their gene seed carries a higher risk of complications due to the red thirst and black rage. The aspirants who survive the transformation process begin their new lives as neophytes, continuing their training within the Arx Angelicum and participating in their first missions under the watchful eyes of seasoned veterans. Their connection to Baal and its moons remains strong, as the Blood Angels incorporate elements of their homeworld's culture into their rituals and traditions. The tribal heritage of Baal Secundus, for example, influences the Blood Angels' ceremonial practices, including their use of blood as a symbol of purity and sacrifice. This cultural connection reinforces the Blood Angels' identity and helps them maintain their focus in the face of the constant struggle against their genetic flaws. While the Blood Angels' presence has brought stability to Baal Secundus and its moons, the wider surface of Baal remains a dangerous and chaotic place. Mutant tribes and rad ghouls continue to roam the planet, posing a threat not only to the nomadic human tribes, but also to the Blood Angels' recruitment efforts. These dangers are often used as a testing ground for aspirants, who are sometimes sent back into the wasteland to prove their worth by defeating rad ghouls or rival tribes. The Blood Angels view these trials as an essential part of the process, ensuring that only the most capable individuals are inducted into their ranks. Their relationships with other Space Marine chapters and Imperial forces are shaped by their storied history, their reputation for heroism, and the challenges posed by their genetic flaws. These relationships range from close alliances and cooperative partnerships to deep-seated rivalries and moments of tension, each influenced by the Blood Angels' distinct culture and the perception of their role within the broader Imperium. Among the Adeptus Astartes, the Blood Angels are widely respected for their martial prowess and unwavering loyalty to the Emperor. Their role in pivotal campaigns, from the Horus Heresy to the defense of Baal, has earned them a reputation as one of the Imperium's most reliable chapters in times of crisis. Many chapters hold the Blood Angels in high regard, recognizing their ability to deliver decisive victories even under the most dire circumstances. However, the Blood Angel's genetic flaws, specifically the red thirst and black rage, cast a shadow over these relationships, while the chapter takes great care to control and manage these afflictions. Their existence is no secret, and some chapters view the Blood Angels with a mixture of wariness and suspicion. The Ultramarines, one of the most prominent and widely respected chapters in the Imperium, share a strong bond with the Blood Angels. This relationship was solidified during the Battle of Cibele, where the two chapters fought side by side to repel a massive Orc-War. The Blood Angels' aggressive close combat tactics complemented the Ultramarines' disciplined and strategic approach, creating a formidable combination that overwhelmed the Orc forces. This collaboration highlighted the strengths of both chapters and reinforced their mutual respect. However, the Ultramarines' adherence to the Codex Astartes has occasionally clashed with the Blood Angels' more individualistic and culturally driven approach to warfare, creating moments of tension despite their shared victories. The Space Wolves, known for their fierce independence and unorthodox methods, have a more complicated relationship with the Blood Angels. Both chapters share a deep sense of pride and a strong connection to their respective Primarchs, but their differing philosophies and personalities have led to rivalry on more than one occasion. The Space Wolves' disdain for bureaucratic structures and their open rejection of the Codex Astartes often contrast sharply with the Blood Angels' structured hierarchy and ceremonial traditions. Despite these differences, the two chapters have fought together in numerous campaigns, recognizing each other's strength and value as allies. Their shared respect for each other's combat prowess tempers their rivalry, and they have proven to be formidable partners against common enemies. Tensions with other chapters have arisen at times due to the Blood Angels' unique nature and the perception of their genetic flaws. The Black Templars, for example, with their zealous devotion to purity and their crusading ethos, have expressed discomfort with the Blood Angels' struggles with the red thirst and black rage. While the Blood Angels' discipline and ability to harness these flaws for the benefit of the Imperium are widely acknowledged, the more rigid and puritanical chapters often view their condition with unease. This has led to moments of mistrust and friction during joint operations, particularly in campaigns against chaos, where the line between control and corruption is most tenuous. The Blood Angels' relationships with their successor chapters are characterized by a strong sense of fraternity and shared purpose. Chapters like the Flesh, Tira's and Angel's Vermilion share the Blood Angels' genetic legacy, including their struggles with the red thirst and black rage. This shared burden creates a bond that transcends the organizational divisions imposed by the Codex Astartes. The Blood Angels often serve as mentors and advisors to their successors, offering guidance and support in managing the challenges posed by their gene seed. This relationship is particularly evident during large-scale campaigns, where the Blood Angels and their successors frequently coordinate their efforts, creating a united front against the Imperium's enemies. Within the broader Imperium, the Blood Angels are held in high regard by the Astra Militarum and the Adeptus Mechanicus. The Blood Angels' reputation as saviors and protectors is deeply ingrained in the minds of many Imperial citizens, who view them as angelic figures descended from the Emperor himself. This perception is reinforced by the Blood Angels' physical appearance, their golden armor, and their willingness to go to great lengths to protect human lives. The Astra Militarum often welcomes the arrival of the Blood Angels on the battlefield, knowing that their presence can turn the tide of even the most desperate engagements. However, the Blood Angels' tendency to prioritize the safety of civilians, and their disdain for unnecessary losses sometimes puts them at odds with the more pragmatic and resource-driven approach of the Astra Militarum's High Command. The Adeptus Mechanicus, for their part, have a particular interest in the Blood Angels due to the unique properties of their gene seed and their advanced craftsmanship. The Mechanicus values the Blood Angels' knowledge of ancient technologies, particularly the Baal Predator tanks that are unique to the chapter. While the Blood Angels maintain a degree of independence in their dealings with the Mechanicus, they recognize the importance of maintaining a cooperative relationship, particularly when it comes to the repair and maintenance of their war gear. The Inquisition's relationship with the Blood Angels is complex and fraught with tension. While the Inquisition acknowledges the Blood Angels' loyalty and effectiveness, their genetic flaws make them a subject of scrutiny and occasional investigation. The Inquisition's Ordo Hereticus and Ordo Malleus have both taken an interest in the Blood Angels at various points, particularly during campaigns involving chaos. The Blood Angels, for their part, are highly protective of their secrets and traditions, viewing inquisitorial interference as a potential threat to their autonomy and stability. The Blood Angels' legacy extends far beyond their own. Chapter through their numerous successor chapters, each forged during the various foundings of the Imperium. These successor chapters, created using the Blood Angels' gene seed, carry forward both the strengths and the burdens of their parent chapter, forming a web of brotherhood that links them to the ideals and traditions of Sanguinius. Despite their shared lineage, these chapters often manifest unique characteristics, shaped by their own circumstances, homeworlds, and leadership, while also grappling with the challenges of the red thirst and the black rage that are inherent to the Blood Angels' genetic heritage. Among the most well-known and infamous of the Blood Angels' successors are the Flesh-Tearers, a chapter whose name alone evokes images of unparalleled ferocity and relentless violence. The Flesh-Tearers are notorious for their extreme tendencies in battle, stemming from a heightened vulnerability to the red thirst and an aggressive approach to warfare. Unlike their parent chapter, who channel their flaws with discipline and ritual, the Flesh-Tearers often succumb to their genetic curses in ways that make them feared even among their allies. Their brutal combat doctrine emphasizes shock and devastation, with an overwhelming reliance on close-quarters combat and assaults designed to annihilate the enemy in the shortest possible time. Their reputation for collateral damage and disregard for non-combatants has led to strained relationships with Imperial forces, with many commanders reluctant to call upon the Flesh-Tearers unless absolutely necessary. Despite these challenges, the Flesh-Tearers have proven their loyalty to the Emperor time and again, delivering victory in some of the most desperate and savage conflicts. The chapter is led by Gabriel Seth, a warrior whose leadership reflects the complex nature of the Flesh-Tearers. Seth's personal discipline and iron will have allowed the chapter to endure despite their flaws, but even he struggles with the knowledge that the Flesh-Tearers' numbers have dwindled over the millennia, a direct result of their volatile gene seed. Seth's leadership style is unyielding, and his presence on the battlefield is marked by his raw intensity and his iconic weapon, Blood Reaver, a massive chainsword that has cleaved through both heretics and Xenos alike. Seth's efforts to preserve the chapter while maintaining their effectiveness underscore the precarious balance that all Blood Angels successors must navigate. Another notable successor chapter is the Angels Vermilion, a chapter whose approach to the red thirst has led to dark rumors and a reputation shrouded in mystery. Unlike the Flesh-Tearers, whose struggles with the gene seed are displayed openly on the battlefield, the angels vermilion operate with a level of secrecy that raises questions about their methods. There are persistent whispers that the chapter engages in ritual bloodletting, or even more sinister practices, to sate their cravings and maintain control. While these rumors remain unsubstantiated, they reflect the suspicion that often accompanies the Blood Angel's successors. The Angels Vermilion are nonetheless highly effective warriors, known for their precision strikes and their ability to adapt to a wide range of combat scenarios. Their iconography and livery, featuring deep crimson with black accents, mirror the Blood Angel's aesthetic, while emphasizing their distinct identity. Other successor chapters, such as the Angels in Carmine, Angels Sanguine, and Angels Penitent, each add their own unique flavor to the Blood Angel's legacy while grappling with the same genetic challenges. The Angels in Carmine, for instance, are known for their focus on aerial warfare, utilizing assault marines and jump pack equipped units to devastating effect. Their reliance on rapid, high mobility tactics allows them to dominate the skies of any battlefield, often descending upon their enemies with the same calculated ferocity as their parent chapter. The Angels Sanguine, on the other hand, are enigmatic even among the Blood Angel's successors, their chapter preferring to keep their faces hidden behind blackened visors, a tradition that has fueled speculation about their appearance and the extent of their gene seed mutations. Each of these successor chapters maintains a connection to the Blood Angels through shared traditions and the guidance of the sanguinary priests. The priests play a crucial role in fostering this sense of brotherhood, traveling between chapters to share knowledge, conduct rituals, and oversee the gene seed's preservation. These interactions help to strengthen the bonds between the Blood Angels and their successors, ensuring that Sanguinius's legacy remains intact, even as the chapters forge their own identities. Successor chapters often collaborate during major campaigns, pooling their resources and expertise to achieve objectives that would be impossible for a single chapter to accomplish. These joint efforts reinforce the unity of the Blood Angel's lineage, even as each chapter faces its unique challenges. The Red Thirst and the Black Rage are ever-present burdens for all Blood Angel's successor chapters, manifesting to varying degrees and influencing their operational strategies and cultures. The Flesh-Tearers, as previously mentioned, are particularly afflicted by these flaws, with the Black Rage claiming a significant portion of their warriors during extended campaigns. This issue forces them to rely heavily on Death Company formations, which are often the spearhead of their assaults. The Angels Vermilion, by contrast, have developed more secretive methods of coping, but this secrecy has led to rumors that have only deepened the mistrust some Imperial forces harbor toward them. Despite these differences, all Blood Angel's successors share a profound respect for their Primarch and his ideals, striving to live up to the example set by Sanguinius, even as they battle their inner darkness. The relationships between the Blood Angels and their successors are generally marked by mutual respect and cooperation, though there are occasional tensions. The Flesh-Tearers' violent tendencies and the Angels' Vermilion secrecy sometimes create friction during joint operations, requiring careful coordination to ensure that the disparate chapters can function effectively as a unified force. The Blood Angels' senior leadership, particularly the sanguinary priests, often play a mediating role in these situations, emphasizing the shared heritage and common goals that unite the chapters. These efforts are vital in maintaining the strength of the Blood Angels' extended family, allowing them to overcome the challenges posed by their genetic flaws and their differing approaches to warfare. The era Indomitus has brought unprecedented challenges to the Blood Angels, forcing the chapter to adapt to a galaxy fractured by the cicatrix, maledictum, and the ever-increasing threats posed by chaos, Xenos, and the warp itself. Roboute Guilliman's return to the Imperium and the launch of the Indomitus Crusade have provided the Blood Angels with both opportunities and complications as they navigate their place within a rapidly evolving Imperium. The Blood Angels have risen to meet these challenges, utilizing their experience, adaptability, and enduring legacy to maintain their role as one of the Imperium's most vital defenders. The formation of the Great Rift and the resulting division of the galaxy into the Imperium Nihilus and the Imperium Sanctus had an immediate and profound impact on the Blood Angels. Baal, located deep within the Imperium Nihilus, found itself cut off from the Astronomicon, leaving the chapter isolated from much of the Imperium's infrastructure and reinforcements. This isolation compounded the damage already inflicted by Hive Fleet Leviathan, which had left Baal scarred and its defenses weakened. Despite these dire circumstances, the Blood Angels demonstrated remarkable resilience, leveraging their deeply ingrained traditions and their unity as a chapter to stabilize their position and protect their homeworld. Roboute Guilliman's arrival during the Indomitus Crusade marked a turning point for the Blood Angels. Guilliman's forces brought much-needed reinforcements and resources, including the Primaris Space Marines, whose introduction into the chapter was both a relief and a source of tension. The Primaris Marines, created using Belisarius Caul's advanced genetic techniques, were intended to bolster the depleted ranks of the Blood Angels and address the deficiencies caused by their genetic flaws. However, the integration of these new warriors was not without challenges. The Blood Angels, deeply connected to their traditions and their identity as sons of Sanguinius, viewed the Primaris Marines with a mixture of hope and skepticism. Questions arose about whether the Primaris Marines could fully embrace the legacy of Sanguinius, and whether they could withstand the burdens of the Red Thirst and Black Rage. The Primaris Marines themselves presented a unique case. Many of them, despite their advanced genetic engineering, began to exhibit signs of the Blood Angels' genetic flaws, suggesting that even Caul's modifications could not fully eliminate the curse of Sanguinius's bloodline. This revelation further complicated the integration process, but also reinforced the shared identity of the chapter, as these new warriors proved to be as loyal and dedicated as their predecessors. The Primaris Marines quickly proved their worth on the battlefield, their enhanced physical capabilities and advanced war gear allowing them to complement the Blood Angels' established tactics. Intercessor squads provided the chapter with increased firepower and resilience in mid-range engagements, while Hellblaster squads added a potent anti-armor and anti-elite infantry capability. In the broader context of the Indomitus Crusade, the Blood Angels have played a critical role in defending the Imperium Nihilus. Their expertise in rapid assault tactics and their ability to operate independently in hostile environments have made them indispensable in campaigns to reclaim lost systems and repel chaos incursions. Baal itself has become a rallying point for the forces of the Imperium Nihilus, serving as both a fortress and a symbol of defiance against the encroaching darkness. The Arx Angelicum, despite the damage it sustained during the Tyrannid invasion, has been reinforced and expanded, its halls now housing not only the Blood Angels, but also allied forces seeking refuge or preparing for battle. The leadership of Commander Dante has been instrumental in guiding the Blood Angels through this tumultuous period, Already one of the oldest and most experienced Space Marine commanders in the galaxy, Dante's role has expanded significantly. Under Guilliman's leadership, appointed as the regent of the Imperium Nihilus, Dante now oversees not only the Blood Angels, but also the coordination of numerous Imperial forces operating in the region. This position places immense pressure on Dante, as he must balance the demands of his chapter with his broader responsibilities to the Imperium. His ability to maintain the Blood Angels' traditions while adapting to the new realities of the Indomitus era has been a testament to his wisdom and resilience. The Blood Angels' involvement in the Indomitus Crusade has also highlighted their enduring relationships with other Imperial forces. Their alliances with successor chapters, such as the Flesh Tearers and Angels in Carmine, have become even more vital, as these chapters frequently operate alongside the Blood Angels in joint campaigns. These collaborations reinforce the shared identity of the Blood Angels' bloodline, while allowing the chapters to pool their resources and expertise. The sanguinary priests, as always, play a crucial role in maintaining this unity, traveling between chapters to ensure the preservation of the gene seed and to strengthen the bonds of brotherhood. At the same time, the Blood Angels continue to face unique challenges posed by the cicatrix, maledictum, and the ongoing resurgence of chaos. The increased warp activity and the presence of demonic forces across the galaxy have amplified the dangers of the Black Rage, as the psychic echoes of Sanguinius's death are more easily triggered in the warp's proximity. The Death Company has seen increased activity during this period, with the chaplains and sanguinary priests working tirelessly to manage the afflicted warriors and channel their fury effectively on the battlefield. These efforts are vital to the chapter's continued success, as the Death Company remains a potent weapon against the Imperium's enemies. As the galaxy continues to descend into chaos, and the threats to the Imperium grow more varied and insidious, the Blood Angels stand at a crossroads. Their place in the rapidly evolving landscape of the Imperium presents both opportunities and challenges, as the chapter must contend with the ever-present specters of the Red Thirst and Black Rage, while adapting to the new realities of the era. Indomitus. Speculation about the Blood Angels' future centers on their ability to balance their genetic curses with their unyielding dedication to Sanguinius's ideals, their interactions with the Primaris Marines, and their role as one of the key defenders of the Imperium Nihilus. The ongoing integration of Primaris Space Marines into the chapter raises questions about the long-term effects on the Blood Angels' identity and traditions. While the Primaris Marines have proven themselves effective warriors, their genetic modifications have not eliminated the risks of the Red Thirst and Black Rage. Observations from recent campaigns suggest that these afflictions, while less pronounced in some Primaris Marines, still manifest unpredictably. This has sparked debates among the Blood Angels' leadership and the sanguinary priests about how best to guide these new warriors, and whether further adaptations to the chapter's rituals and hierarchy might be necessary to fully integrate them. There is also speculation about whether the introduction of Primaris Marines might eventually lead to new approaches for mitigating the effects of the gene seed flaws, although such progress remains speculative at best. The Black Rage remains one of the most pressing issues facing the Blood Angels, with the Imperium Nihilus constantly under siege by chaos forces and warp incursions. The psychic echoes of Sanguinius's death grow stronger, increasing the frequency of the rage among the chapter's warriors. This has led to the expansion of the Death Company, with more resources and personnel dedicated to managing and utilizing those afflicted by the condition. The possibility of the Death Company growing too large or becoming increasingly difficult to control is a concern for the chapter's leaders, as it raises the risk of the Black Rage overshadowing their traditional strengths and strategies. Some within the chapter speculate about the potential for deeper studies into the nature of the Black Rage, possibly exploring new methods of containment, or even understanding its underlying causes. However, such efforts are fraught with risk, as delving too deeply into the psychic and genetic mysteries of the Blood Angels could invite unwanted scrutiny from the Inquisition or lead to unforeseen consequences. The relationship between the Blood Angels and their successor chapters is another critical factor in their future. The Flesh-Tearers, Angels Vermilion, and other successors face many of the same challenges as their parent chapter, and their collaboration has become more vital than ever in the fractured galaxy of the Indomitus era. However, as these chapters continue to evolve and develop their own identities, the potential for divergence from the Blood Angels' traditions increases. Some successors, like the Flesh-Tearers, already operate with a level of autonomy that occasionally creates friction during joint campaigns. The Blood Angels' ability to maintain unity across their lineage, while respecting the independence of their successors, will likely play a significant role in shaping their future influence and effectiveness. The influence of Robert Guilliman and the Imperium's broader push towards standardization and reform also introduces potential challenges for the Blood Angels. Guilliman's emphasis on the Codex, Astartes, and his efforts to rebuild the Imperium along more centralized lines sometimes conflict with the Blood Angels' deeply rooted traditions and their cultural emphasis on individuality and artistry. While Commander Dante has successfully navigated these tensions thus far, his eventual replacement could bring new dynamics to the chapter's relationship with Guilliman and the wider Imperium. The Blood Angels may need to reconcile their unique identity with the practical demands of serving as a frontline chapter in a galaxy increasingly defined by relentless warfare and existential threats. The role of the Blood Angels as protectors of the Imperium Nihilus ensures that they will remain a key force in the ongoing struggle against the enemies of mankind. However, this responsibility comes with risks, as their isolation within the Imperium Nihilus makes them more vulnerable to prolonged campaigns and limited access to reinforcements. Baal, despite its fortifications and symbolic importance, remains a target for Xenos and Chaos forces alike, and its survival as the heart of the Blood Angels is far from guaranteed. The potential for another catastrophic assault, whether from Tyranids, Chaos, or a new enemy, remains a constant threat that shapes the chapter's strategies and priorities. Speculation also surrounds the possibility of significant breakthroughs or changes in the Blood Angels' understanding of their genetic flaws. While the Red Thirst and Black Rage have been constants in their history, there are those within the chapter who believe that these afflictions may hold the key to unlocking new strengths or insights. The Sanguinary Priests, in particular, continue to study the gene seed and its effects, hoping to find ways to better control or mitigate the flaws while preserving the essence of what makes the Blood Angels unique. Whether these efforts will yield practical results or lead to unintended consequences is a question that looms large over the chapter's future. The Blood Angels' enduring connection to Sanguinius and their commitment to his ideals remain the foundation of their identity, even as they face the uncertainties of the era Indomitus. Their ability to adapt to the ever-changing demands of the galaxy, while remaining true to their legacy, will determine their role in the Imperium's ongoing survival.